Hi there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, the teacher with the Demon, and with me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of lsatdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Our email today is from Marissa with the subject, Is Law Out of the Question?
Marissa says, good afternoon, or morning when you read this. Long story short, I got my cumulative GPA back recently, 3.1. I knew it was going to be low. My first 2 years, I was majoring in something I was not enjoying, political science, and I was prioritizing work over studying because I thought no student debt was the way to go, so I was working 40 hours, sometimes well over. I realized after 2 years, working 30 hours was fine, and I changed my major to English, and I got better grades. Right before COVID happened, my great-grandma got really sick and was in and out of the hospital. I spent a lot of time working and helping my grandma do things while she cared for my great-grandma. I ended up getting a D in all 3 classes I was taking. This was when I realized I was not doing myself any favors, so I started working harder at school while working less and still seeing my great-grandma. I retook all of those classes and got an A to boost my GPA. My grades then went as follows. 4.0, 3.6, 3.6, 3.5, 3.1. Oops. 3.5, 3.7, and then a bunch of 4.0s. I'm not sure an addendum is for me. My grades are 100% my fault because my priorities were wrong. However, I was able to grow and work hard. I'm hoping to get a higher LSAT score to compensate for this. I would like to get a 165. Why not higher? I started testing and was only missing 3 out of 4 on LR total and 4 out of 5 in each RC section without any background studying. Do you think I have a chance not looking at a top 14? Okay. You want to start?
Yeah. I felt like I was reading, like, this email is all over the place.
Yeah.
Marissa, take a deep breath. A 3.1 is not a good GPA.
Nope.
That is something that you are going to have to overcome, and
Yeah.
schools are not going to like.
Yeah.
It is something that you can overcome. The way to do that is to get a very high LSAT score. I think
Yeah.
you are selling yourself short with a 165. You should sit down, start doing one question at a time. 3 out of 4 accuracy is not good. People think it is. I want 9 out of 10, ideally 10 out of 10. And on questions that you attempt. If you don't finish sections, that's fine. Just focus on doing one question at a time, review your mistakes until you can get a score, and with your GPA, ideally in the 170s. At which point, you can go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships, use our scholarship estimator, and start looking at the kind of schools that are going to give you good offers despite that GPA and are traditionally good to splitters. That's kind of what you're looking for there. Totally in the world of possibilities. But even in the way this email reads, there's all this stuff around it. And there is a little bit of accountability in here, which I think is a really positive thing. But Marissa, none of that matters. It really is just, can you get the LSAT score? And I think you can. You've got a bunch of 4.0s on here. It seems like you are very motivated. You have been working hard. But now it's all about getting a good LSAT score to show people that you have the horsepower to carry this 3.1.
And with no prep, if she was missing 3 to 4 on LR total and 4 to 5 in RC, with no prep, no background studying, I mean, that already sounds like she's in the 160s.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you shoot for the 170s? I think you have, obviously, the horsepower. The work ethic is going to come into question when people see the 3.1. But the LSAT is also a test of how hard you can work. If you settled for a 165, I think you'd be telling the schools that you'd be like showing the schools that you don't have the work ethic. Because I think you're the type of person who, if you show up with a 170 something and you're 3.1, they're going to have to consider you. Even some schools in the top 14.
Yeah.
I mean, Wash U is famous for loving splitters, and you're way, way, way below their median GPA. But I don't think they care if you're even 1 point above their median LSAT. So you could end up getting like a scholarship to a top 14 school with the right LSAT.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely 100% will get scholarship offers from regional schools. So if you just don't care about going to the top 14 at all, if you're not even going to apply to the top 14, I suppose that's fine. But the 170 is the thing that's going to get, the really attractive offers.
And let us be clear about why we're saying, like, talking about. I just happened to see somebody sent me the April registration for the LSAT.
Yeah.
April registrations are up almost 50%.
Okay.
What that means is the number of people, absolute number, maybe not relative, but the absolute number of people who are going to score 170s is going to go up by roughly 50%, which means those top schools are going to fill their classes with 170 scores when traditionally they didn't need to. They went down to the high 160s.
Yeah.
And then that pushes it all the way down.
Yeah.
When you settle for a 165, you think, oh, well, that sounds like a really good score. But in terms of absolute numbers, there is a chance that doesn't get you what you think it might. And there's no reason you should sell yourself short in a time when you have just so many people trying to apply to law school, especially given your GPA.
Yeah. I think an addendum makes sense potentially because I believe you are going to be able to point to an increasing grade trend.
I have a question for you though, Nate, because here's what's odd to me. She says right before COVID, my great grandma got really sick. And that would suggest to me, like, I'm confused where the drop, like, because the drop isn't until summer of 2021. On this report, I wonder if there's a transcript before.
There is. There has to be.
Okay, there has to be.
She got 3 Ds in one semester, but the lowest GPA on this whole thing is a 3.1.
Right. So I don't know how many. I mean, that's 10 semesters right here, and I don't know how many we have before.
But this is enough here. If she just pointed to these 10 semesters, if she recalculates her GPA based on these 10 semesters, well, the lowest number on here is a 3.1, and there's a whole bunch of 4.0s. So I'm just going to roughly say that these numbers right here are like a 3.6. And so if she writes an addendum that says my last 10 semesters of school are more reflective of the student that I am today, I got a 3.6 in my last 10 semesters of school. Now, that doesn't change the 3. And by the way, leave out all the excuses.
Yes.
Don't mention COVID. Don't mention your grandma. I suppose you could mention work because that's kind of like a humble brag, right? That's like it's like, hey, that was actually an error in judgment, but it was an error in judgment that I was working so much. So maybe you say something like, I worked 30 hours a week, or I worked 40 hours a week in my first couple of years of school. I realized that was a mistake. I cut down on my work schedule and focused on my studies. I got a 3.65 in my last 10 semesters. Okay. That's about as good as you can do on an addendum. Because what you've done there is you've said only like positive things about yourself. You've given them an opportunity to anchor on a higher number. Whether they actually will or not is questionable. I mean, for pure rankings purposes, they don't give a shit because they're just like, well, you're a 3.1 on our 509 report. So you're a 3.1 as far as how we're going to be evaluated by US News. So sorry, but that's just the facts. That's the game. But the other reason why they look at your GPA is to see if you can actually cut it in law school. And if you tell them, hey, when I was working 40 hours a week, that wasn't good. But when I stopped working 40 hours a week, I actually did pretty well in school, 3.65 or whatever that number comes out to be. You could also recalculate your last like year and a half, like, and say
the 3.7.
Oh, I got a 3.9 in my last 4 terms. Whatever you think is the best, but just one fact, like just one number. It's a fact. You choose the facts you present in your cases, right? That's what advocacy is largely. So you choose that fact wisely and you show it to them. And they might go, oh, well, yeah, she's going to drag our median down. Nothing we can do about that. But she's not going to fail out of law school because look, she had 4.0s the last 3 semesters in a row. That's another fact you could share. Choose one
Mhm.
though, but say, hey, I got a 4.0 my last 3 terms. Okay, maybe they latch onto that and say, this is the student we're really getting. Keep all the excuses out of it. Write like a 2-sentence addendum, maybe, and then get back to work on the LSAT.
One advice that I don't know if I personally haven't given, but just hearing this story makes me really think of. We get so many emails of people who say, well, I have this situation. I broke my leg. I had something happen with a family member. I had, right, X, Y, and Z. And so we get so many of those emails. It is okay to withdraw from school. Like, step back. It is better
Yeah.
to say, you know what, I need to take a medical withdrawal, stop for 1 semester, come back the next semester when you know you can crush it, and then you're not writing to us saying, hey, my GPA is well below what it should be because of these circumstances. Take a year off. Go take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. Preserve that GPA. Not only do you look, because then if someone says, well, wow, I see that you took a year off right in the middle of school. Oh yeah, I had a tragic family circumstance. I had to go take care of it. I didn't feel like I could perform at the best, and I felt like it was a more responsible thing to go take care of it so that I could still succeed in school. Boy, that sounds like an adult answer.
No, if you try to explain, I was working and doing my classes and taking care of my grandma who was super sick and I got 3 Ds, they read that as an error in judgment. They read that as, oh, well, why'd you do that? Like, it's a bummer about your grandma, and yeah, sure, people have to work, but you didn't have to keep going to school during that time. You could have taken a medical leave. Like, you're basically showing them that you were bad at working the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good, because lawyers are good at working the system. Also, like, that's how you get bad grades in school. Well, you're applying to school. They want you to get good grades in school. So you shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, while I'm thinking about it, there's another excuse here that you have to omit. The idea that you didn't enjoy political science, 100% hurts you if you share that with them. 100% hurts you.
Yeah.
The fact that you liked English better than political science, let me tell you something. Law school has a hell of a lot more to do with political science than it does with English.
Those are both very relevant.
Well, yeah, but English is you're reading a bunch of fiction. It's artistic. And not that law isn't artistic.
Sure,
and sometimes fictional.
Sure. Yeah.
But look, the definition of political, okay, is relating to the government or the public affairs of a country. What do you think law school is about?
And are you gonna do poorly in all the classes you don't find interesting? Like,
well, and that's just general, like, don't bitch about any major you didn't like. There's a big difference between I started out pre-med, that didn't work out, or I started out mathematics and engineering and whatever, like, that didn't work out. Okay, fine. Yeah. They get that story. But boy, I didn't like political science. Okay. If you don't like political science, how the hell are you going to like literally any law school class? Like, the government comes up in every law school class.
In my constitutional law class, our teacher literally walks in and goes, well, we're going to talk about something else, but news happened, so let's talk about what just came out.
What the government did today.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly right.
And it is inherently political.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of turning on the State of the Union the other night, and you see the justices there in their robes, and Trump's like yelling at them, and it's like, yeah, okay, so that's the court, and they're supposed to be allegedly, removed from the politics. They are 100% not removed from the politics. Everyone knows who was appointed by a Republican and who was appointed by a Democrat, and they tend to split along those party lines a lot. And okay, so anyways, let's put that aside.
Yeah.
No excuses. 2-sentence addendum that points to your increasing grade trend.
And go crush the LSAT.
Get to work on the LSAT. Yeah. But she starts with, is law out of the question? Not based on the numbers. Possibly based on you don't like political science.
Well, Nate, it's interesting because I have never been asked that question by someone who doesn't have concerns that aren't just numerical.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not.
If you're looking for the exit,
yeah,
we'd be happy to show you the door because
right.
this is not for everyone.
You came to the right podcast if you're looking for someone to tell you about why you should look for an exit
Well,
ramp.
look, it wasn't for me. I mean, I also had really bad undergraduate grades. I had no problem getting into law school because I had a high LSAT. So there's plenty of people who can be splitters. I mean, I had a worse GPA than Marissa, but I got a 170 something and it was easy for me. You breeze right into law school with a 2.5 and a 170 something.
Yeah.
Breeze into 100 different law schools with those numbers. But I shouldn't have because one, I didn't really like school. Two, I had no idea what lawyers actually do. If I did know what lawyers actually did, I wouldn't have wanted to do that. So this is not the podcast that sells you the dream. We're not, you will never, I mean, I think it's a fireable offense at lsatdemon. Now that I think about it, if you say the words, "Oh, you can do anything with a law degree," that's selling the dream. I'm sorry. No, you either do or do not want to practice law. And that's really, if you want to be a barred attorney practicing law, then fine. But I wonder, has Marissa done the due diligence? Like, does Marissa know any lawyers? Has she worked in any law firms? Has she, like, does she have an idea what type of law she wants to work in?
Questions that we would ask.
Those are questions that we would ask. And those are questions, like you should just go do those investigations, Marissa.
Yeah.
Go meet lawyers. I still love this tip that I got from LA defense lawyer Michael Friedman, who came on Thinking LSAT and said, go to your local courthouse. Go watch some proceedings. Courts are open. Go to the courthouse. Go shake somebody's hand and say, hey, I just want to ask you a couple questions. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Do that 5 times. Guaranteed somebody's going to talk to you. And now you know a lawyer. But figure out, what is it that's really attracting you to this? And do you actually want to do this? If you actually want to do it, a 170 something, and you're going to have no problems. Even if you don't write an addendum, you got no problems. The 170 is your addendum.
That's the addendum. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks for writing in, Marissa. I hope that helps. Please let us know how your study journey and application cycles go. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.